Well, right now, reaction from our local politicians and experts in national security pouring in after this second attempt on Donald Trump's life.
Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Marcy Jones continues our coverage in the studio this morning. A lot of people have a lot to say about this last attempt.
Absolutely. Good morning. Well, after yesterday's scary incident, some political experts are speaking out, saying these actions reflect the current contentious and heated political climate surrounding the election. In July, the nation was stunned when a 20-year-old opened fire at a rally directed at former President Donald Trump. A bullet grazed Trump's ear, and the tragic incident resulted in one attendee's death and left two others critically wounded. Now, just 2 months later, a second assassination attempt was foiled by Secret Service while the president was golfing in West Palm Beach, Florida. Some national security experts say this is a reflection of the scathing political rhetoric between parties.
Violence has increased in part due to Donald Trump's own actions, but it's also increased due to the divisiveness and divisiveness of the nation right now in this political environment.
Released a statement saying in part, quote, "As I have said many times, there is no place for political violence or for any violence ever in our country, and I have directed my team to continue to ensure that the Secret Service has every resource capable and protective measures necessary to ensure the former president's continued safety." In the studio, Marcy Jones, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.